I remember growing up watching my dad with wide, curious eyes. He'd joke, leaning close, and say, son, life doesn't work quite the way we think it does. It's not all as it seems. Then he'd pause, as if weighing some invisible truth before continuing. Not everything that glitters is gold. The people you see driving those shiny cars, living in those big houses, they're not always what they appear. Have they ever suffered? I can promise you they have, even if you can't see it. I'd frown deeply, confused, and asked him the question that haunted me as a child. But why isn't everyone rich and equal? My dad would look down at me with that knowing smile and say, because life isn't about fairness, my boy. We're all given the same 24 hours, the same chances to think, work, and yes, to fail. Life is an ongoing puzzle, and not everyone solves it the same way. But here's the thing, you will fail. That's certain. But your success will depend on how many of those failures you turn into strength. And there it was, that word that used to send a chill down my spine. Failure. The mere sound of it conjured feelings of dread, a tightening in my chest as though the walls were closing in. For most of us, failure feels like the final act, the moment the curtain drops and the audience goes home. It feels like the universe itself has declared you unworthy, as though each dream you dare to believe in crumbles into ash. You start wondering if you're the only one. Maybe you've been there too, frustrated and worn down by the endless parade of other people's successes, wondering why your efforts always seem to fall short. Or maybe you're right on that edge now, staring at the mess of your plans and wondering if it's time to give up. How much more can you really take? Here's the truth my father so wisely understood. Failure isn't a detour in life. It is life. It's not some rare misfortune meant only for the unprepared or the unlucky. It's embedded in every story worth telling, in every triumph, in every monumental achievement that seemed unreachable at first. And yet here we are, living in a world that's done a magnificent job of convincing us that failure is a reflection of our flaws, rather than the extraordinary teacher it is. One of my university professors once said, failure isn't just part of life, it is life. At the time, I remember that statement gripping me in a way I couldn't shake off. The thought of failure in all its messiness and humiliation made my skin crawl. It was the mayhem I had spent years avoiding, a weight I feared would snap me in two if I dared carry it. Society, after all, had taught me well that failure was a mark of inadequacy, a flaw in the fabric of who I was, something that happens only to the unprepared or the unlucky. How wrong I was. That simple, piercing truth from my professor ignited a flashpoint within me, a moment of uncomfortable clarity that changed everything. Suddenly, I could see it for what it was. Failure wasn't this dark, shameful corner to cower in. It was the light. The strings once attached to failure that made me cringe were simply illusions, tangled up in the societal lie that equates failure with weakness. But if you are the kind of person who embraces reality, then you should consider failure as the most relentless and insightful teacher you will ever have. It exposes what is fragile, forces you to confront your limits, and pushes you to grow beyond what you thought possible. Our culture, though, does a great job of selling us the opposite. It peddles perfection, glorifies success as if it were easy and effortless, leaving us mortified at the mere hint of imperfection. So many of us live in shame, afraid to own the jagged edges of our failures, ashamed to admit that we've stumbled. The truth is sour and awfully distasteful. And what is it? We all stumble. Every single one of us. The difference between those who rise and those who don't lies in how we respond to that fall. That's why I've spent years gathering this motivation, piecing together the raw, unspoken reality of failure to create this book. This isn't just another guide to overcoming obstacles or some hollow motivational drivel. It's a playbook on how to fail intelligently, how to fall hard and still rise stronger, how to silence the deafening noise of the world and hear your own voice above the din. In this book, we'll step beyond the surface of failure and see it for what it really is: a vital force for personal growth, resilience, and eventual success. But before we go further, we need to face an uncomfortable truth. The world is noisy, and not in a way that helps. Social media has a way of amplifying every achievement, every flawless moment, until all you see are endless victories that make your own efforts seem small. The temptation to weigh your worth against this illusion can be overwhelming. In spite of that, I encourage you not to be deceived or discouraged by the clamor around you. That noise, with all its distractions, is empty. It never truly mattered. What does matter is the journey you're on and the lessons you choose to embrace along the way. With this in mind, I've crafted a straightforward playbook, starting with Chapter 1, Embracing the Inevitable. Why failure is your best teacher. This chapter is your first step toward reframing how you view setbacks. You'll discover how to shift from seeing failure as a final stop to recognizing it as a necessary part of your evolution. Every visionary, every successful entrepreneur, every artist you respect has been knocked down more times than they care to remember. Their success wasn't in spite of their failures, but because they learned from each stumble, transforming it into fuel for their next step forward. But let's not sugarcoat it. Failure isn't just about learning. It's also about navigating the constant flood of opinions, feedback, and advice that inevitably follows. Chapter 2, Noise Pollution. How to filter out the negativity dives into the mental static we face every day. Societal expectations, family pressures, and, yes, the never-ending comparison social media encourages. Here, you'll learn how to sift through the noise, focus on what truly matters, and silence the external voices that don't align with your journey. Once you've started to quiet the world around you, you can examine more thoroughly with confidence what I call the anatomy of intelligent failure in Chapter 3. This is where we dissect how to fail with purpose and intention. It's about testing, learning, and adapting, failing fast and failing often. Because let's face it, if you're not failing, you're not pushing hard enough. Whether it's a business idea, a creative endeavor, or a personal goal, you're going to get things wrong. The key is to learn from it every time. That's how you turn failure into success. So if you're standing at the edge of giving up, feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, or like you've hit a dead end, understand this. You're not at the end. You're just at the beginning of something remarkable. Failure isn't here to break you. It's here to shape you, to guide you forward. This book is your roadmap for transforming each fall into an opportunity for growth, for drowning out the chaos, and reclaiming your voice. If you're ready to embrace failure as a powerful tool for growth and learn how to tune out the distractions, then this book is for you. Grab your copy through the link below and start your journey toward failing intelligently. Thanks for joining me. And remember, every big failure is a step closer to a big win.